are just an eighth of a mile down the hill from National Historical Churches, the Valley Grove Churches, which means that when I have tantrums and swear, you can hear me. Pardon? So that's not good. Really, my operation is my little brother and I. Nick is Down syndrome. He's lived with me for 16 years now. When mom and dad, Nick was born in 72, the doctor said put him in an institution, blah, blah, blah. So instead, mom and dad said, let's bring him home and treat him like the rest of us. Years later, one of the social services people said, yeah, they really loved what mom and dad did, bringing Nick home to the farm. She said, when you go out there to the Zemans, you cannot tell which one of those is retarded. Oh. Right? Which she meant really well. She was embarrassed after that. And yet she was really close to the truth. I'm telling you. Because like Nick says he's a Downy, and he calls me the Downess. All right, so we are on the front steps of your state was born a year after I was. Right? I was born in 58. Y'all were born in 59. This hen house was born 10 years before the state of Minnesota was born in 1848. Wow. This is the little hen house that people love on our farm. It's so cute, and I say, yeah, you get the pitchfork and go pitch it out. Everything else we do by skid loader, right? But this one, not so much. Okay. But Dominic, Nick likes it. He actually was 45 on the 25th. And so we free range all of our hens. About 2/3 of them are heritage, and the other third are some hybrids. In order for me to modulate my egg production, some of the heritage don't always work as well as my other ones. So quick history. I was not the first female in agriculture, but I certainly was the second. There weren't a lot of there people before me, because I'm never married, right? So I'm a solo female farmer, and I have spent my entire life in an ag industry that really did not want a lot of solo females in there. And the day that I noticed it was when I was working for a feed company, AgriKing out of Illinois, and I'm in the sales meeting with 432 other men. That's the first time I actually noticed it, like, wow, I'm the only girl here. And then I said, oh, bathroom will be a short line. Isn't that what always holds women up? Seriously, men, right? Like, what could they be doing in there? Because you guys are pointers and we're sitters, so. I actually grew up on a typical 200-acre diversified crop and livestock farm, and we were organic before organic was a thing, right? It was back. I was born in the golden age of agriculture, and when Dad had 12 kids, we never needed chemicals, right? Because he had 12 children to pull weeds. We never used drugs. We used our own electrolyte solution, with eggs and sugar and molasses when the calves got going. So, so for me to fall into certified organic farming was a no-brainer. Although I did have a couple of years on the dark side that I got to figure other things out. So I was in 4-H, FFA, Minnesota Junior Holstein Association. I've showed and judged cows all over the United States, Canada, Mexico. When everybody else was having a normal life, I was cows. But it was a good life. I had a good time. I went to River Falls, Wisconsin, majored in ag business, farm management, which is also why my leadership with the Minnesota Farmers Market Association is definitely on a business track. Like, I don't think any of us should be in a farmer's market if we're not making money. Right? That is what I say. This is not my hobby. I'm not a very social person, so I'm not out there to make friends. Necessarily.
Gotcha.
Hey, apparently I do need more coffee. And then, and I had to get my 20% down. There's 12 children in our family. The 4 daughters that came first were not going to get the farm. 4 boys came in later. My dad and mom were very traditionalists. So I had to go work. So I worked in ag. So I worked for an AI company. I sold Zeman, Maple Leaf Genetics out of Canada for both dairy and beef. Feed company. Then went to Extension, and then I spent 5 lovely years in corporate world for an insurance company in the IT department. It was great. It's the first time I've ever been able to control my hours and get paid a lot of money. It was just like wonderful. I also, if I wouldn't have been, they let me stay for 5 years. I telecommuted, and then when Nick's program started so that he could come and live with me, they never longer really wanted me to telecommute. Anyway, they let me stay for 5 years, but if it wouldn't have, they would have fired me anyway, because I just didn't fit. Yeah, right. It just didn't fit that well. And then in 98, I bought my first farm for 5.22 acres, because when you only have 5 acres, you count the .22. 60, right? I mean, I never told people I have 5 acres. It's 5.22 acres. $65,000. There are trucks, right? Boats, more. Yeah, that's how. My current farm, however, I made up for it. Even though it's a rundown farm. So I have 20 acres of HE land, for those of you that know, highly erodible land. When we bought it, there were huge gullies because it was all row crop. So on the top of my hills is gravel, on the bottom of all the good dirt. And on this side down here, there's a tributary to Prairie Creek, and there was a 5-foot gully cut in, right? Because when that water comes down, so we said, okay, so in the Minnesota, the old farmers say, ask your land what it wants to grow, right? So this land says, I want to grow grass and gophers. So we put it into grass, and we are still fighting with the damn gophers. It is 17 acres of pasture with livestock. We have 2 acres of just the worst. If you garden people would ever see my gardens, you would not be very happy. You would have a heart attack, but it works for us. Like the year I raised 150 pounds of squash. I planted them in the spring, never weeded them. I forgot about them, actually. Life gets busy on my farm. And in the fall, 150 pounds, we stumbled over them. So,
what kind of squash?
Butternut, kabocha, acorn, right? So all the normal, typical ones. So heads up, squash can tolerate a lot of weed pressure. And then we just have an acre of a building site. This is our 1895 farmhouse, and I put my kitchen garden so that at the end of the day, my ass is dragging. Right, so I want everything that I want right there, so you can stumble out there, go get your herbs or your lettuce or whatever. It also, our goats get out a lot, so. So then we had to remodel our hen house. So this is my niece, Ariel. We have a predator-proof poultry pen in our shed so that we can raise everything the 3 weeks before we kick them out to pasture. We are cheap. Our nesting boxes for our 400 hens are 5 gallon pails, all food grade. We do pastured pigs. This is the only time they look that cute, by the way, when they're 350-pound pigs. But when you're my age and you're as fat as I am, you say, we're going to figure out a way for those pigs to get in that trailer by themselves. So we throw apples. My pigs, I never load pigs. They load themselves. First I load them with goat milk at first, and I load them with, we have goats. We do, so this tree went down in a big storm, and I was stomping. And then I look out there, and the goats are playing. I'm like, see, they get it. Just kind of appreciate nature when she gives it to you. So we sell raw goat milk in Minnesota, which I can, and we make goat milk soap, but not like Susan does. See, I have to go. See, that's why I came. Apparently, I was meant to be here because I found Susan Houlihan, your wonderful organic. I'm going to go figure out how she does it. We do sheep. Yep.
Can you sell the goat milk retail?
No.
No.
Yeah, come to my farm. Yeah.
You can do a share.
No, we can't do that.
You can't do that.
A law says and I can't advertise it, so we never advertise it, but we do advertise it. We have goat milk soap.
Okay.
Then they find it.
Yeah.
What about you can sell it by the gallon or whatever.
Yep.
They can just come to your farm.
They come to our farm.
Sell it in small increments.
It doesn't matter. I could sell $1 million worth, not that it's all cash, so we don't know that for sure.
But I mean, you can sell a quarter of a gallon.
There's no tracking of anything.
Yeah, right.
So is that a pasteurization?
But yeah.
So on raw milk, so our ancestors really screwed up on milk and meat, right? So all milk and meat is federally. Your laws for milk and meat are the same as my laws, as California's, Oregon. I mean, it is all. So milk is under the PMO, the Pasteurized Milk Ordinance. So there's very little, I'll tell you, I don't know which talk I was in, but law you really can't, you're not supposed to interpret differently, although we do. But code, food code, you can get variances all over the place. And that's why many of us in the food industry, which we are, see a lot of funny things going on in food code because, like, you guys only have state and then acreage. No, I have 52 different things. So our people see variance. Well, you can get a variance to code. You cannot wiggle on law, allegedly. I have another strong line on that one, but sometimes it's not appropriate in public. Okay, these actually are my wool sheep. I switched to Katahdins, they're hair sheep. I mismanaged all of my ruminants the same way. These were the only ones that were breaking with worms. I said, you apparently do not fit my program. And I brought in Katahdins. They are naturally worm resistant. And I already have a room full of wool because I love spinning my wool in the winter. So I'm like, I got plenty of wool. These guys went off, Katahdins came in, and they are, so Katahdins Dorpers, they are, they're also short tails, so you never, ever, ever think about, not that I ever did. Okay, and this is really how I started out my broilers on grass. However, if you do it this way, the broilers, they go out on grass on day 1 of week 4. We butcher on week 8. But they don't really catch on to go back in their pen at night until about 10 o'clock, until they're like week 6 or 7, which means every night I've got to be there to push them in, or they get picked off by the coons and the wild kitty cats. So they are in hoops, and we move them with our skid loader every single day. They're in 8x12s, 2x6 bases, and we just move them every day with the skid loader. Even if it doesn't matter how much rain I get because we're always on grass, even if I'm on a hill with 9 inches of rain, my skid loader can still push it, and we just push it. My skid loader is my hired woman. If I didn't have my skid loader, I don't let other people run my skid loader, except if they're a good mechanic. Then I make them drive it because they'll say there's something wrong with it. Oh, did you take care of that?
So wise.
We do heritage turkeys. These guys fly real, and we also do broad-breasted because these are the standard bronzes. It's important for us to keep our heritage birds alive, right? Otherwise, we're all going to rely on the 2 sets of genetics coming out of all the big hatcheries. My poultry, I am the most susceptible. It's the only genetics I can't control that bothers me. But do I really want to raise, I run 400 hens. Do I really want to hatch out 800? No, I'm not doing that. And we do ducks and geese, and our geese are for predator control. We milk a couple of cows. She looks Holstein, but she's really a 3/4 Jersey. She's an A2, which is the nice beta casing. We sell raw cow milk. We teach children how to milk goats. We have our own bees. That's Dominic in his suit. We do value added. So, now I won't be able to do my sheepskin rugs anymore because I have hair sheep. But I like to spend, pardon? We sell sheepskin rugs. So, you try to get, but we won't be able to anymore because now I have hair sheep. Although because that's a different, that would be a very firm fiber.
What do you do with the sheep hair then?
The sheep wool?
The hair, from the hair sheep.
Oh, no, that just falls off. So in the spring, they look like death-worn Dover because as they're big splotches of wool and hair falling off, they just look horrible.
So what's the advantage of that?
Number one, nobody wants to shear anymore. It's hard to find a shearer.
No.
It's hard. It is very hard on your back. I mean, and when you're shearing a sheep, you're supposed to get it done in 2 minutes, and in that 2 minutes, you're shifting your sheep 56 positions.
Wow.
Maybe when I was younger, yes. But, I'm older. I say, and I can't find young lads or lasses to do it, so I'm like, well, get hair sheep so I don't have to shear. So this is in my farm shop. We sell our honey, our goat milk soap, our soap on a rope, which is our wool, felted around a bar of soap, and you hang it in when you put them out at a farmer's market table. I literally had a guy come up and say, why do they look like scrotums? Or rats. Somebody said, I don't know. But again, it got people to my table, right? Many inappropriate comments from all of us. And then I make our own beeswax lip balm and our bees and candles. So I direct market from my farm. We do a chickens and eggs CSA once a month. I do farmers market, and I do wholesale to a co-op. In 2010, I started our own farmers market because we were the traditional farmers market in Minnesota. You got mad at the original one, so you split off and you became the second one. Half of our farmers market started that way. Market manager, I signed the contract of being in the SNAP EBT. Our budget really was, we set our fees to be $10,000. That would pay for our market manager, our insurance, our baseline, and then we raised the other 2/3 in grants. In 2012, I started with the Minnesota Farmers Market Association. The emphasis was to grow membership and do public policy, because in Minnesota, we've got laws that get in our way, according to me. They get my way down. So when you're going after programs, you have to have, so in the business world, you say if you measure it, you can manage it. That's really what data collection is all about. And everybody says, oh, how do you do data collection at farmers market? You guys, it's really not rocket science. We're just going to count. We're going to try to narrow down your responses. I don't know if anybody here has ever done Quiz Bowl.
Yes.
Okay, so I still am the best coach in the Minnesota. I'm the only coach in Minnesota that's ever had national champion dairy Quiz Bowl teams and general livestock Quiz Bowl teams.
Nice.
Only because I had really smart children. We did it for many years, but in Quiz Bowl, you learn to ask questions that have one and only one answer. Because otherwise, as the judge, you say, that's true but not correct. That's true but not, and kids throw things at you, so you learn. So we actually did this research. We kept asking farmers markets, what does a thriving farmers market look like? So we did this hundreds of times, and these were the top 10 answers. They wanted lots of happy people, right? Buying food. They wanted smiling farmers making a sustainable living selling their farm products. We wanted somehow to take care of financial assistance for our low-income people to get their food. Perfect weather.
I actually supply that to our market.
Oh, there we go. We should order that in. But at perfect weather, remember, when we're collecting data, the end result could be money that we've raised to put a permanent roof over our heads, right? And in Minnesota, if you got it's 100 degrees and no breeze and 80, 90, 30% humidity, and so if we can at least get something out there, a lot of our farmers markets are on asphalt, right? So it's hot and humid, and we wanted music and kids activities. We wanted community involvement. They wanted it year round, right? We have. You guys have 7 months of winter. We have like 5.5. So they wanted stable days, times, locations, because how else do you train your customers? Because remember, as the president of my association says, farmers market is really just a really bad business model. He's the president of ours. But Bill's right. I mean, we have limited hours at times that are convenient for us, right? What is convenient for our people in Minnesota? It's Quick Trip, and they're open. If you really are out of food, Quick Trip's open 24/7. They'll go to a Quick Trip and they'll get, they'll get something called food. And we wanted happy staff. We wanted happy staff, so not staff stressed out, which means we're going to have to get money. So what we also decided was that vendor fees can never be high enough to make this thriving farmers market. You just can't, right? We cannot afford that as vendors to do all that. So you have to come up with money somehow. So in Minnesota, we figured out a typical farmers market for a sustainable budget is make sure your vendor fees are your subsistence level, and then everything else we have to raise somehow, grants or sponsorships. And we have learned to collaborate with each other. I mean, so like 5 or 6 markets might go in together and write a grant. On the state level, we write grants with many of our partners. Our theory is we're all going to hunt like a pack of wolves, right? I mean, we're not going to compete against each other. We are in, because really our competitor, we're not each other's competitors. Minnesota, our competitors are Big Ag, right? I mean, it's Sodexo, it's Reinhardt, that is really our competitors. If there's 100 million of us farmers at a farmers market, we are not each other's competitors. We are there. Think about the big box theory. Walmart, I don't know, what are your big boxes here? Walmart never goes in by itself. It brings in another competitor, because they won't just go to Walmart, but if they see Walmart there and Home Depot and whatever, now you've got enough assets there that and this is proven. I mean, this is not Kathy Zeman's research. This is market research. So that's why the more of us, at some point we'll flood the market, but I've yet to see it in a market that we can flood it. So 2/3 of it has to go to the cool stuff. So like in my little market, we had a $30,000 budget every year, $10,000 from vendors, the other came from whatever. Like Mill City Farmers Market has a $150,000 budget, $50,000. That's Twin Cities, right? And every day they get 5,000, 6,000 visitors to come. And many of them are one-timers. That was interesting when we did that. We did this data collection at theirs to find out how many new customers. Even year after year, they're still getting a substantial amount of new visitors. Where are they coming from? And why aren't the right? So we haven't figured that out. Anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So this formula, 1/3 to 2/3, kind of is a good benchmark to start with. So really you end up saying, why do we want to do data collection? It's a little bit of work for you. It's going to be a little bit of work. Number one, to keep your vendor fees as low as possible. But you have to be able to prove to your community sponsors why they're giving you money. You always have to think of the benefits. Why are we doing this? That we want them to give us their money in many different ways. So we need to be able to prove to them. And this is why this kit was out in our 2012 newspaper. So our EDA was not willing to give us $16,000 every year, except that we could prove to them that we generated $240,000 in new revenue for our vendors. So 120,000 every year. We did that by asking our vendors, who are just as ornery and just as stubborn and just as independent as any vendor you got here in Alaska, right? We asked them, but they gave us their sales figures. Because we said, you can either give us your sales figures or we're going to triple your vendor fee. I'd happily give you money.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Willingly give it up.
Right, so if you just threaten people and you don't blink, you know.
Anonymously.
Yeah, and yeah, so like when I ask you, we'll talk about that's the last thing we're going to do, because really getting sales figures to me is the easiest thing in the whole world. It is just really, you threaten them and you do not blink. Many of you, right?
Yeah.
Right, you just, yeah, because I already had their bill ready for them. Here is your $20 vendor fee or your $60 vendor fee. You choose, right? And it's simple. So anyway, you need to prove to your potential new vendors that they can be sustainable. If you want to attract vendors, how are you going to be able to tell them the average sales in this market for produce farmers is $1,000 a day, right? Or for you cottage foods producers, you know, our average sales are if you don't gather it. So this is a business. It's not a hobby. And you know, when farmer wannabes contact me, the first thing I ask them is this your business or are you a hobby farmer? And if they tell me they're a hobby farmer, I hand them off to somebody else. Because I don't have capacity to help everybody, and I'll bite their head off like soon. So, and then the other thing we found out is we need to assure our surrounding businesses that the sales on farmers market days will increase. This is something that we've done locally, and we have a Minnesota Grown. I wonder if there wasn't like a federal program, because you have Alaska Grown. We're all the same age. Minnesota Grown and Alaska Grown.
That's 30?
Yeah.
30 years old.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if that all started. I
It could've
don't know. Anyway. So they did it statewide, and this holds statewide, that every farmer's market, when you start surveying your businesses, your customers who come to your market, they will tell you they're spending more at your surrounding businesses than they do at the market. So yes, Lori?
No, I'm just.
Okay. So okay. So that's really important. So you can now prove that you are not a threat to your community, but you can't do that unless you're collecting data. So I'm really hammering home the point here, why we want to do this.
Can I ask, like, what data are you collecting, or how are you collecting data about that to show that other businesses are
Coming up.
getting
Yep, coming up. And actually, your handout on this, I didn't create this. Larry Lev did from Oregon decades ago, but he did it. It's on solid research methodology. So he's called Tools for Rapid Market Assessment. Larry did it at Oregon State. Some of our University of Minnesota people helped him, I guess. But attendance counts, dot surveys. The rapid market assessment is what markets can do together as a team, and that's all written up in your handout, and you should just look at that. And that just goes.
It's in your packet.
It's in your pack, yeah. It's whatever that. Yeah, the packet, right? It's in here. Yeah. So you've got that, and it's online. So if anybody, so I think at the end of this, I'm going to be emailing Robbie a whole bunch of links that I've got for you, and then you can put them out on the Alaska State Farmers Market Association. Really, you guys got to get this. I mean, seriously, you already are. What you're doing here is what except you have way more fun. When you guys were all laughing yesterday morning, I'm like, ooh, this would not be Minnesota. You guys, and it's a challenge then for me because I don't read ours because that would be inappropriate. So say, and then we're going to talk you through sales figures from your vendors. So attendance counts, you do it on a specified 20-minute period. So this is based on methodology. So don't just think you can screw with this and come up with solid numbers. But do it every 20 minutes. You're supposed, and if the person, so in most farmers markets, you're set up, I think, that you're like a sieve, right? Your customers can enter from like 100 different ways, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, because you don't. Rochester kind of gates them. They make them come in and out. They're great. They must be cattle farmers. We want them to come in and out the same gate, right? That is a lot easier to monitor. So the counter you have has to be able to kind of recognize people. So you're supposed to only do unique adult shoppers. Now, I argued with their methodology because I know a lot of kids who spend a lot of money at markets, but they really wanted to know the adults. And so if you do it if your market starts at 9 o'clock, you're going to do it from 9:20 to 9:40, right? And you're going to do it then the 20 minutes later and the 20 minutes later. At the end of the day, you're going to times that by 3, and then you're going to times that by the number of, and anyway, you end up with total shoppers. There's your formula, and it's in your handout. Total shoppers for your season. All of a sudden, you have got This is actually, you're not just making this up. When we get to the sales figures, that's a little bit more made up, because it's a little bit harder to corral. And you cannot count pregnant people twice. Once. In extension, when we were trying, Minnesota, when we were trying to verify, the need for our existence, because our budgets were getting cut, we would count pregnant people twice. And Kevin Kavanaugh, who went on to work for the Minnesota Department, he would ask them if they were carrying twins. He did not get fired either. Okay, so you got to, depending on your staffing, you're going to count every market. You should also note the weather, right? So the anomalies of weather. So we've got charts when we do this. At the day we do it, the weather, the temp, whatever that is. And then you can report to your community, your partners, that these are the number of shoppers that your farmer's market brought to your community. So now you've got that figure. Now when we then jump to our DOT surveys, now we're going to, in our DOT surveys, we're going to try to parse out who they were. So we'll be able to tell our community partners that have just given us 2/3 of our budget that, and we know by our DOT survey that this many were within 5 miles of us, and then this many were, and you do have to kind of watch how you word those DOT surveys. So the questions, DOT surveys are nothing more than an easel with a poster, right? Have you guys seen DOT surveys?
Yes.
Okay, have you all done DOT surveys? Okay. Okay, so you could pick it on a day that is a non-weather day, because otherwise you got posters blowing all over the place. Okay, so you've already done this. So really, this is how most farmers market collect their data. The data that the FMPP, the Farmers Market Promotion Program, wants us to gather, our benchmarking for sales, is really just a scam. Because if you tell me I'm gonna capture my sales, my benchmark, we're gonna know what you guys make today. And then we're going to train you and do this program, and then we're going to capture your sales at the end of this so we can prove that this grant created this increase in sales. Are you kidding me? The weather could have changed. Our vendors could have changed we're not tracking individual vendors. Between the beginning of my benchmark and the end of my benchmark, I could have swapped out all my vendors, right? So, and I did give my FMPP grant person that example. She didn't respond, so. But really, there's no need to gather dumb data. I mean, if it's not reliable. So you just pick a non-weather day if you can. Do the same color dots if you can. When you start doing different color dots, people get confused. What's the yellow one for compared to the red one? Right? So just don't confuse people.
Can you explain what a dot survey is? Does everybody understand
We're coming to that. We're coming to that. So this is kind of the process for somebody. It'll take a staff person, though. You're going to have somebody there to gate them. You're going to have to talk them through it. You're going to hand out little strips of dots. It would be helpful if that you can bribe them with something. Right? And some people would call that an incentive, but it's a bribe. Try to do it once per season. Sometimes your customers can just get jet lagged from, if you do it every week, they're going to just blow by you. Do it twice, depending on. You're going to seed the poster with dots, and then you're going to remove them later. Because if you just have blank posters up there, right, and you don't have dots up there to start them out, they're not going to know what to do. You just need to remember how many dots you put down. Otherwise, you're off by a few. You might need multiple posters. If you got a lot of customers, they may fill up that poster in 1 day. In 1 hour. Then you take that away, you write down the time you removed it on the poster, and you put the next poster in with some dots you've seeded. So you might have 3 or 4, so be ready for that. All posters will have the exact same questions on them. You may have 4 easels. They tell you to kind of limit your questions to 4 or 5 or 6, but you can kind of, your people, if you can get by with more. And then you can take time to interpret your results, though. That'll take some thinking, and it takes a team. Share with your community partners, and you can use this to obtain grants. So, what answers do you want to know? You need to make them one-ended questions. For instance, how many miles did you travel to attend today's market? That would be the question on top of the poster. And then your columns are 0 to 5, 6 to 10, right? Because you could have asked that question, where did you come from? And you people would say, Illinois, Minnesota, right, if you're transplants. So we've learned that because in Northfield, we have St. Olaf and Carleton, right? So we have a lot of international. People literally say, Belgium. Okay, that's not what we meant. How far did you travel today? So make sure that's what I mean by asking those dead-ended questions. Make sure, so because we do want to know how far away people. It also helped our budget. So think about why you wanted this. We were spending a couple $1,000s in Northfield Entertainment Guide that goes within like 40 miles of Northfield. But we found out over half of our customers are coming from 100 miles away. So why would we spend, right? So that it'll help drive your business decisions on what. So think about what you want to learn, and then you ask those questions. How much money? This is a big one for us. How much money? We did this actually statewide in Minnesota, and even at all of our little markets. Ask them how much money did you spend at today's market. Okay, those are easy ones. You give them your narrow ranges. Then how much money did you spend at other businesses today, not at the market? Because that helps us with our surrounding businesses. Because then we identify, and this held in Minnesota at our little Riverwalk Market Fair, and statewide, that our customers spend more money at our surrounding businesses. So that's how you prove to your city. If you want to go into your city and say we need free land, right, or whatever, you are helping your community. So you now have data. This is not hard. You're going to spend one day. You're going to throw some time at it. Don't put a grumpy person in charge of this stuff.
Do you ever ask if they come with their children or with someone else?
No, you could. You could definitely say, your question could say, put a dot here if you came with children.
See, in our case, we'd also have to ask, did you walk here by any chance? Because we're in a place where we get foot traffic.
Nice. Okay, in the Twin Cities, a big thing for them is, did you come by public transportation, right?
We're on a bus
So
route.
and you might need to strategize. You're like, oh my God, think how many things I need to know. So you say, what do we need to know to make our market sustainable and our vendors successful? So that's your short term. But then long term, what do we need to do to prove to get our grants? So think ahead to what do you want a grant to help you build. What are they going to need to prove that you didn't just take their money and go to Alaska? So it's right. So you got to so you're thinking short term and long term on all of this stuff. And then this is I want you to practice on this one. If you're going to put this, we want to know how much money they spent on your different types of vendors. You know what vendors you have. So how would you word this? How would you word this question? And then what column headings do you think you'd put up there? See, in ours, we'll have a lot that'll do produce and cottage foods, right? Because that's really why we redid our cottage food law, so that our produce vendors could quadruple their business, right?
Value added.
Right. So how would you do it? Because you want it to be short and concise.
Do you have the different types of vendors, the columns? You got produce, eggs,
Yeah.
What about that? What about that? So, right?
Yeah.
And then, so you'll know who your vendors are,
Yeah.
and you're going to put in your vendors, and you're going to know what your dollar values are. Another standalone question might be, how much money did you spend today? Because if you want to know the maximum amount of dollars, well, we already did that in the first one. So these are the ones that we think about what we want to gather. All right? And then you're going to have your lines down, and it's with marker, you guys, and you don't need a ruler. I mean, for those of us with OCD, we're going to have But if you're an artsy-fartsy person, you're going to be, right? And it'll be fine. It'll all be fine. Okay.
just get a bunch of them printed out, so you don't do it every week.
Well, you're going to probably only do this once or twice a season. Because your customers get, how many times do you guys have malls up here? Like, the mall people who attack you for a customer survey, they come around with their little clipboards and their secure, oh my God, you run the other way when you see a mall person. And you don't, it's no fun. All right, so vendor sales, set your expectations. You're going to include in your application why you need their sales figures and how you're going to do that. Right? So you're just going to level set your vendors right away. So when they sign up and they give you, they've now agreed that they're going to do this. And if they didn't, The other thing is that farmers market managers need to remember you can fire some vendors. In my experience, we have fired 2 vendors. We did it nicely. They were not a good fit for our market. We were not a good fit for them. We gave them back their vendor fees. We wished them well, and we helped them move on to the next market. It just didn't fit us because we only had one. We only were paying one manager at the time. She wasn't really that good in conflict resolution. The rest of the board were all volunteers, and we're like, yeah, we don't got time for this. We're volunteers. We're done. So we just said, we'll help you out the door. So it's like a very nice HR person firing an employee. You're not happy here in our company. We'll help you find the next job, and just, you help people move on. So you can fire a vendor. So if vendors refuse to do this, and I know you're all saying, wait, but you need to set expectations and hold firm. If this is a business, and if it's not, then do whatever you want to do. Just don't probably ask me for advice. So we don't ask for any names. We just do a dollar figure. We have them include their off-site sales. So my farmer's market booth was nothing more than a storefront for my farm, right? So that day I probably sold $500 worth of goat milk soap, my scrotums, right? Some honey, whatever. And then, but that day I also sold $5,000 worth of pigs, right? Because they're contracting with me because I do wholes and halves. I am as limited as you are. I have a custom exempt meat processing plant, so I sell wholes and halves of all my beef, my pigs, my goats, everything. It's also 7 miles from my house. She also is organic for me. I know. I literally gave her a pig and said, figure out how to make bacon with celery powder and don't use synthetic. And so it was a belly bust. It was a small pig. We're like, that's fine. So we all ate a lot of really bad bacon for a while, right? Because we had to practice with, but otherwise it would have been all at Dory's expense. And I'm like, we'll do it anyway. That was a sidetrack. So, but we encourage in our market really has a lot of art people. So when Kathy Miller would sell a $300 art thing, but she took a commission for a $1,500 one, that counted because that is truly Riverwalk. So we were a business. This is a business that we're doing. So it doesn't matter what you're, and we never asked them to split it out. And one of our market managers one time said, and then whatever your sales are, because we need to prove to our donors that we're worth it, multiple it by 5. Our biggest vendor, yeah, we're like, okay, don't lie, people. Come close, but don't lie. Our biggest vendor, Martha Schutzley from Martha's Eats and Treats, best baker in the world, she looked at me and said, I'm not giving you, and she's like my daughter, I'm not giving you my sales figures. And I looked at her and said, Miss Martha, the average price on all the things you're selling is $250, and you bring about 1,500 pieces here every day. You don't have to give me your sales figure. I know what you're selling, right? So even your people because she was really our anchor vendor. I would do anything for Martha because that's how good she is. She brings, so in a grocery store, you put your go-to item in the back. Mm-hmm. So bananas are in your back, right? Yeah. They have to wade through. We buried Martha. And she knew it, and we all knew it. We're like, Martha, you are our anchor vendor. You're there. Everybody's going to have to crawl over the rest of us to get to you. She didn't care. She still made every penny she ever did. In fact, she's our golden child because she's a vendor at a farmer's market, and now is a brick and mortar. So she's got a store. I mean, So we're like the incubator. I think the farmers markets can be really good incubators. Okay. And yet she comes faithfully because we meet her at our market, right? So it's I'm pretty sure it's a sacrifice on her part. I do not care. And in our market, it is literally, we deliberately use scratch paper. Right, so they don't think you can track at them, I will. It'll be ragged pieces of paper. It is a pencil and a coffee can, or a plastic pail. Sometimes it's the dog watering pail. We just want to make it as non-threatening as possible, right? And remember, we don't have dogs in our market. Did you catch that? Yeah, literally. We literally have a dog watering pail in a market that cannot have dogs. Anyway, and then and they're always reporting last week's sales. So don't expect them to report today's sales, right? At the end of the day, they're crabby, they're hot, right, and they haven't counted it. Yeah. So they're always, and then you just tell them, so it's really in week 2 you're going to start capturing that. And then you just end up with 40 little pieces of paper. You don't care, but you just write it, you put it in your Excel sheet and report it.
Do you walk around and manually get it from them
We do, because it's the one time that day that we can check in with them. And then we allow them to download, right? If they need to vent about anything, that is their time. And I will stand there. They can vent all they want. Right. So
We don't always have consistent vendors week to week.
that it won't matter. All you're trying to do is capture the sales that your market.
But if they're not there the next week, what's
We
the best
email
way?
them.
Okay.
You
get
can
it
hound
some
them.
way.
We've done the same thing. Or if you know, like our strawberry vendors are only there for a short period of time, right? They're not there for 40 weeks. We'll ask them, if this is your last day, what do you think you sold? Also, you are good spies. If a vendor comes, when they put their strawberries on their pints of strawberries, count them, right? As a market manager, do you sometimes do the sweep in the beginning of your market and then at the end, right? Because you got to make sure everybody's kind of legal and safe. They haven't done anything crazy that you maybe need to know about. Because we do. We have vendors that would break a rule every day of the week. It's just easy to go by in the morning, smile, and then at the end of the day, and they should count. If they've got 50 pints of strawberries when they started and they're done, it's in the yeah. So there's ways to get it, and you will not get them all. I mean, there will be some vendors that say, "Screw you, I'm not doing it." Like, okay. It's fine. We may not invite you back, or other times we have threatened to. If you don't want to give us your sales figures, your vendor fee will triple next year. So they have to make a choice and then you get in their face. You're like, this is a business. All of us are in this together. So we are always preaching. We're the team. We are a team here. Like my vendors, somebody shows up late, everybody gets over there to help them set up. Because if you have a late vendor, that is going to disrupt the business in your right. And if anybody's having a bad day, like a parent is swearing at their child, which one of us will go over there and just kind of massage that, right? Because this is a business. You're just like any other the highest quality store in the world is a farmer's market. We have the best food in the world. So we want our business to look professional and happy and thriving. And even if we're yelling at each other, like I literally could be swearing at Kyra right now. and if you couldn't hear me, you wouldn't know. So we have code words all the time in our market, right? And then you're good, and then make sure you share and celebrate, because especially when you start building that, like this year's sales were this much more than last year. We then had our vendors say, can you break that out for us? Can you tell us what produce is doing versus? And we're like, yeah, we could do that for you, right?
If you gave us the information.
If you gave us the information.
Exactly.
But that happened like in our 4th year. Finally, they knew the value of that business. Some people say, yeah, but Kathy, I don't want you to send that to the IRS. The IRS doesn't care. We don't care. The IRS, Farmers Market Association has no connection to the IRS, or the Department of Revenue, Minnesota. MDA, if we sign up for a cottage food, we have to click that we don't qualify for workman's comp. Their law in their department that they wrote made them do that, but there's no information that ever changes hands. So the so each of your different departments, sometimes, at least in Minnesota, may have to collect things that never crosses over because our legislatures, in their wisdom, didn't make the connecting words. So it's like we have bridges to nowhere in some of our data. Okay. And I can tell that joke here in Alaska, and you guys get it. Like in Minnesota, they're going to get that. All right, so this year, your commitment to yourself to build your business is to start a baseline, because I'll guarantee you. Okay, how many of you are vendors here? How many of you know what your gross sales were last year? What's your percentage growth that you want to have for this year? Okay, so this is she wants to maintain. So that's it. There weren't a lot of hands here that raised up. Every year, all of us should say how much we made last year. Because remember, those gross sales, farmers markets, you have to count from the time that you loaded your vehicle, your butt in the saddle to the market, your butt at the market, your butt all the way home, and unpacking. Those sales have to pay for all that time. This is why my president says, farmers markets are the worst business model in the world. And yet, it is the incubator for most of us, right? This is the way we start. It's the way we hone our skills. And it's the way I always want to do it. I don't, this is my farm shop. So I built a farm shop on my farm. Because it's only me and Nick can't drive, right? So sometimes I can't actually I'm not Hermione with that time changer thing, which I really, really want. Okay, so do it this year. Then you can compare year to year. You can analyze your trends. This will help you identify solutions to your problems. You realize how I wrote that. I did not say this will help you identify your problems. Problem identifiers are a dime a dozen. We shoot problem identifiers on my farm. Do not come to me and tell me, hey, you got a problem there. Really? Go fix it or don't talk to me. Right? I mean, so seriously. So I want you to identify the solutions to your problems. Share the results with each other. Just think how many are different markets. Because like your one market might say, how did you do that? And then, so that's the value of a state association. How many more times can I not subtly say that? And then you learn from each other. Okay. So best wishes, guys. I hope you have a good time. You can email me or don't call me. I don't return phone calls very well. I'm not that good at emails. In fact, my out-of-office response right now says, in Alaska, expect delayed replies. Half of my colleagues said, we probably won't be able to tell the difference. Because we created a lot of work on our side. Like, we do a lot of, like right now, I'm supposed to be getting a bill through the legislature.
Hey, Kathy, do you use a load list when you go to a market? Do you have a sample load list you could share with me?
Yeah, I can email it to you. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have it here, but yeah. You mean for my market when I do it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So like in soap, I have to do sales tax on soap in Minnesota. So I try to do it as easy as possible. So we know what we brought in and we know what we came with. And then I also compare it though. I try to in the beginning, so my soap in particular, and I try to compare it to sales. But because we have other stuff we sell, I don't separate out soap sales from honey sales from beeswax candle sales. Because that would really be anal. Because we're cash basis at the market, and so we don't do receipts or anything. But at first I wanted to because I was wondering if I had any people stealing my stuff. You know, we've got little stuff, right? And I talk a lot at the market.
No.
What?
I'm not always aware probably of what's going on. But I like farmers markets, right? When you're a solo female farmer, you're buried on the farm a lot. Farming it's the most romantic job I've ever had, and the most lonely, right? I mean, it can be lonely, so that's why it's good to do this kind of stuff. All right, any other questions? I don't even know what time it
I
is.
have a question about small markets. We're pretty tiny. We're just at the point where we're not constantly struggling to get people to them. Like, we have some consistent vendors, we have some interest in town, but there's so much fear around like making changes or being like, no, we want you to report our sales. Where we have one produce vendor, they do super well. Them reporting their sales to us is basically telling us their income for the year, which I haven't asked them. Maybe they would be fine with that. I don't know. But like, do you have any advice for like? I wish we were in the position where we could say, well, just don't vend here. And if you're not going to participate, we would be like, oh yeah, we don't have any vendors.
So you don't want to play that card because it's hard to back up then, right?
Yeah. It's like,
oh, then never mind. Which will then weaken your position, right? So my experience in getting people to work, it was an extension. I was a 4-H agent, so I learned children are way smarter than I ever was. So I had to kind of figure out how to, work them, not manipulate them, influence them. So in your case, I would do it in a gathering, and I would start out with the whys. Why is this important, right? And also have some solutions ready. Like, do you have any in your head that you might have done some soft calls to donors, businesses that will benefit with you? So we have found all of our food people downtown benefit from us, which is kind of crazy, right? You think, why would the bakeries downtown benefit? Because people come to eat. They don't care where they eat. So they come to us and then they go eat there too. So if you could reach out to some of your neighborhood businesses that might like you, have them lined up so that when you sit down with your gathering, so you're going to gather sometime this spring, if you can, bring as many people together, because if you put it in an email or a letter, then they actually have to read it, which I never do. Right? So if you can get it, whether you Skype or Google Hangout, whatever technology you can use, because you guys travel more distances than we do. So then you gather, and you're going to load that with the benefits. Why, we've had a great year. You could, or even show them the growth that you've had so far from your first year to what year are you in?
Our 7th.
Okay. And I think it does come from us. If we show fear, when you're an extension agent, don't show fear to children. So we shouldn't show fear. We're like, no, this is a good thing. Farmers markets build communities, build resilient communities. That's why we're here, right? I mean, we are the backbone. Everything else comes from this. And that's really scary to say sometimes because we have like little support, right? All of our infrastructure support goes up there, and this is really where it should be. So don't show any fear. You're excited. You like what you get to do. We control our own destiny. I mean, that's really what I like about it. I mean, it's scary as hell sometimes, right? I mean, I have to pay my own bills. I don't have anybody else out there to pay them for me. So that's really scary sometimes. But yeah, so start out with a positive attitude. You're going to drive your change. Some of them will say no. Tell them the why. Say, if you would do this, if we can show that in 3 years, we created this, then these businesses will help out. And tell them that they're all cash-based anyway, right?
We have some people that take
So they know their sales. Because you're not asking them, just give them a ballpark figure. Tell them to do it plus or minus $100.
Yeah, I love the idea of just making it real. Just like write it down on this check paper. Like I have no way of tracking it. I mean, we will know who the produce person is because they make way more money than anybody else. But in the hot food.
Okay, but so look what I did with my Martha, right? She just flat out said no. I said, Martha, I don't care. I can count yours. I kind of called her bluff, and she's like, whatever. Right? So yeah, even in our little market, like she made. So our cottage food law prior to when we changed it, you could only gross $5,000, and yet a year, and yet the other crack of dawn they were making $40,000. Right, Martha was making about $3,000 every time with $2.50 at a pop.
Wow.
That's why we buried her. So you might miss the first times, but if everybody, because you just think on a team. If you see 8 of your people going forward and you're the only 2 dorks not going forward, right? Always build it. You're a team. You're a team. You're a team. And we've tried to make all of our decisions together.
And that team isn't peer pressure. That team is for meeting the needs of the market.
Correct.
And because, we didn't talk much about national trends in shopping, but we could have a whole workshop on national trends in shopping. Right. Before I moved here, I thought I might have summers to do a little tourism, but I changed my focus. But national tourism, people are motoring, they're going to places, and they're looking at where's the town's farmers market. Right. It has become something tourists want to support. Right. I want to eat at restaurants, but I can't eat at restaurants 3 times a day or 2 times a day for 2 weeks while I'm traveling. So I want to pick up fresh, local, and then eat my fish with it. Right. And so, when I first moved here, people were talking about, our market became a tourist market here in Homer. And I was like, no, I see there's a complete blend. The tourist is a national trend to support farmers markets. So that trend changes how people are shopping. Is that change good or bad? We don't have to judge it. As business people, I just want to help that trend because I want to sell to whoever wants to buy from me so they can afford the goodness I'm selling. And that's it. And so I don't care if they're a tourist, I don't care if they're from Belize or if they're from a mile down the road. But as a vendor, I want to know it. And then if I was really rich and I could give money to my market, I want that data to say, hey, this market supports so much business, these people are going to come get my charter, they're going to come stay in my place, they want to have their wedding in my facility, I'll give the market $2,000 so they can grow and do their best. And $2,000's nothing off of my back because that's a tax write-off for me. And so, but the farmer's market has to have that data to get those monies.
Right.
You're giving us $2,000?
Okay, so the other way I think to build a team, the team effort, is that we tell all of our prepared food vendors.
Ask them to take me out to lunch, and then I'll ask them.
The other way we've done it is that any of our prepared food vendors have to buy at least one food product from one of our raw food people in our market. Our food trucks are not allowed to come in without buying half of their ingredients. Okay, when I say food trucks, with one. And she's like one of us, so Maria gets it. But So, because there was a big national article about, like out east, like farmers markets are really just becoming food truck markets. And I'm like, farmers, you control your destiny. Pull your heads out, right? If you were the farmers market, you set the rule that says, food truck, if you want to come here, you're not buying off Sodexo, you're not buying off a Reinhardt, you're buying half of your product from us, right? All of a sudden, those farmers like doubled sales, right?
Yeah.
Because now so again, like our cottage food jams and jellies people, we guilt them into buying some of their blueberries from our blueberry farmer, right? So we all protect ourselves. So in some cases, again, somebody's talking about ordinances. If you guys do anything, samples or something, you're always buying that from your vendors, right? Okay, so, or if the town of Homer could have a city ordinance that said, 50% of, if we serve any food at a city function, 50% of that food has to come from our farmers, right?
Wow.
Iowa started this back in the 80s when they went belly up, right? Yeah. So you just kind of come up with those kind of things, right? So you always say you are a team, so it's not vendor versus vendor. So our vendors, like we tell our vendors, you're always sharing all of your market's social media posts, right? And we'll share all of yours. So we're in this together. It's the big box theory, and that is solid data. You cannot argue with, well, apparently you can argue with facts, but anyway. That down my I also brought you guys up the FSMA flow chart. Do you want to do the FSMA flow chart for you guys right now, or no? Am I in the middle of nothing? So should I shut up? You can tell me to shut up.
We start in 13 minutes our next sessions.
Okay.
If you want a break, if you want to hear Kathy, which
I'll bring it up and show it to you on the screen if I can figure out how to.
Great. Yep. Over.
Is that your PDF? No.
No, it's the little Adobe.
Oh, there it is. Sorry. Do this one first. Okay, so this is how in Minnesota, we have our University of Minnesota people training this, so we don't rely on our Department of Ag on this one. Well, our Department of Ag will take our Department of Ag, so we work very well with our Department of Ag. We sit on committees together. I think it's because they know that they need to keep their friends close and their enemies closer. Because we're always kind of chatting. Yeah, I know.
No.
Both. We're both on this one. So here's your flow chart. Does your farm grow, harvest, or pack, or hold produce? Yes. Right? Does your farm, on average, in the past 3 previous years, have 25,000 or less in annual sales? Then you're no. If you say no, I mean, if you're yes, then you're not covered. You'll have to apply for the exemption, but you're not covered by it, all right? Then it says, no, I sell more than that. Do you sell one of the commodities that FDA has identified as rarely consumed raw? You're going to say yes, then you're not covered. No. So what I'm getting to is this blue box down here. The blue box, dark blue box up there. Most of our CSAs are in that blue box, the CSAs and farmers markets in Minnesota. And really, they will have to apply for the exemption, and then they are only caught under 112.6 and 112.7. 112.7 says you have to apply for the exemption and tell us why. 112.6 says you have to keep the paperwork on your soil amendments. So for us, for most of our produce farmers, they're over there. Not our big guys, not snowpack, but for people in my little farmers market world are, okay. For most of the people here, we've got 3 years from 3 or 4 years, depending on where you fall, from the time the rural was adopted. So we still have, so that's why I think like the departments and the extensions are not freaking out a lot, because they've got a little bit of time. And even then, our Department of Ag is getting good at training. Even then, they say if there's any challenge, they're sending it all back up the hill to the FDA. Minnesota will not fight this battle at all. They're going to send it back to the FDA. We may make them come back in and save us. So in Minnesota, we sit on this big committee called the LFAC, the Local Food Advisory Committee. There's 70 of us on this committee. We have Blue Cross Blue Shield. We have all the agencies. We have anybody who touches food in the state, and we have quarterly meetings. So we fight battles. So if a problem comes up, our farmers and our food people know to call us, and then we are the buffer, and we work it out. Sometimes the agencies have been wrong. Like I heard a comment yesterday, the rule doesn't require it, but we still think you should do that. That comment, we don't take that comment very often in Minnesota anymore. So if it's not in law, then we are not required to do it. So in Minnesota, so where's your food code at? Where are your laws at? Where in your statutes? Do you know the numbers of the statute that apply to your food laws?
No.
I do because I've had to go in and write it. In Minnesota, it is 28A.151, 28A.152, 28A.2 is our exemption for farm. I am a dumb farmer, right? And I know where my laws are. So when we train our farmers, we tell them, you need to know the law as well as your director knows the law, as well as your GC knows the law, because this affects your business. That makes sense? No, it doesn't mean, so if you have a state association, you can, like, what is this? Like that can be one of the, then because you all, then that can be the lead on that, and that person can help train you to find your laws, because some of the comments that I heard, in Minnesota, Gene Hugeson was a commissioner, he did not like little ag. So he instructed the Minnesota Department of Ag the hired people that they could make up rules. Like they said that in our code, it said that you could only do one slice, right? Bullshit, that's not in statute. That was never in statute. In Minnesota, without a license, you do have to follow GMPs, good manufacturing practices. So this can't mean a packing shed with mud floors, but washable. You can take our water has to be like, my well will never hold, well, I can do it for this. My water was dug before Christ was born, so we don't really know how it was dug. So like, I couldn't take that water and make lemonade and serve it to public people. So I have to go to town to buy water if I want it. Although I have the best water in the world, but the law. So we in Minnesota, we can literally, like Becca calls up and says, Kathy, I'm sitting on 100 heads of cabbage. What can I do with it? St. Olaf will buy it from me, but they don't want it in heads. And I'm like, you're going to take it into the church kitchen, and you're going to slice it and dice it and put it in plastic bags, and you're going to haul it to St. Olaf, and they can buy it without a license. She's like, no. And I'm like, yes, that's the law. That whole law that you could only, hack off the bottom, take those other leaves off and cool it, that was never the law. For 30 years, our administration forced farmers. So those are the battles that we do as the state, because it helps all of our vendors, right? Yeah.
So it's kind of easier to play the game if you know the rules.
Yeah. Yeah. Right? And so who knew in Minnesota we do this whole thing like farmers, the old thing was farmers need to know production, you need to know bookkeeping, and you need to know marketing. And they always said farmers were bad at marketing. And I'm like, no, marketing is what you do last. Because if you don't, you're gonna save the animal first. Because if that's dead, you got nothing to market. So you're always gonna take care of the, what's gonna die. In fact, when I first took over this farm, I once said, every day we just say, well, what's gonna die if I don't make it? That's what we're gonna do today. Right? So, but I would tell you now, there's 5 legs to this stool. 5 legs are. The fourth one is you have to know the law as well as anybody. If the law, just think of this. Do you think that Microsoft doesn't know the laws that apply to them? Right, because they abuse them in every country. So no, they don't law, right? And the 5th one is we're going to have to do our own public policy, right? So we used to think our state people were 3-headed monsters. I now call them my heroes. Because first we got to meet them. So if you don't know anybody, it's really easy to not like them. But anyway, so that's what we do. So we sit down and we talk. So that's what I think. There's 5 legs now. We all of us. Because what we do in Minnesota will affect you in Alaska. If you have a foodborne illness at an Alaska farmer's market, we will get refunded. If we have a foodborne illness in Minnesota, you will hear about it. I'm thinking, right? Yeah, right? Yeah. So it doesn't matter where it happens, we're all going to hear about it. So we are all in this one big, happy, fighting, dysfunctional family together. So that's why I like it. That you guys are doing this and you're getting organized and you want to, because this is food, this is sustenance, this is how we feed our world. Okay.
Thanks, Mom.
Yay!